a room. Thrilled to be here. I'm Matthew Wellful. I'm the Executive Director of POLITICO, and I don't think you need an introduction to this room, but I am thrilled to be joined on stage by Moeve CEO Maarten Wetselaar. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you for having us here. It's a pleasure. I think we've worked for 18 months together to co-create the first version of this event, and it's fantastic to be here. And probably a good moment to thank all the teams for their hard work, because it's not easy to start these things up.
Yeah, I think we're thrilled to be in Spain and couldn't imagine a better welcome. But we have an entire packed agenda, and we actually have a dedicated panel on energy later this afternoon. Yep. I think it's at 11:30. But I've been in Brussels for 12 days, and I think this could not be a more important conversation. I'm thrilled we actually get to kick this off. But before getting into sort of the what and the why or the how, I want to start with the why. So why is it important, or why was it so important for Moeve to support this event, and what's your agenda with regard to the energy transition that's happening right now?
So the first one, I'd say two things. We live in a very messy, volatile, unpredictable world, and I think every day we're actually quite happy to be European, living in Europe, where there's kind of coherent policy and leadership.
I have no comment on
that. But I also think there's a risk that we take that for granted. I think being European and living in Europe and having those benefits also comes with a responsibility. And if you look at the multiple crises we've been through in the recent past, COVID, Ukraine war, Greenland crisis, now we have Iran. It comes to the realization that this European project has a lot of homework to do when it comes to our defense, when it comes to our finance, and when it comes to energy. And so organizing forums like this, where Europe can come together to discuss the urgency of those priorities and the way forward, and to create the kind of trust and vision to take that forward, I think is very, very important. And why Spain? I think Spain has a lot more to give to Europe. It's gone from seeing Brussels as a good place where subsidy came from, to becoming a full participant in the European project and delivering very senior people into the European administration. But I think Spain can become more of a leader in Europe, have a European leadership agenda. And in that sense, I think there's opportunity for Spain to be much more in Brussels, but also for Brussels to be more in Spain. And so today is a day where we take Brussels into Spain, and hopefully we create that symbiotic agenda between Spain and Brussels to take the continent forward faster.
Well, I think you've just laid out exactly why we're here, so thank you for doing that. But so I want to get into what this moment really means. I mean, in your eyes, just how resilient is Europe's energy supply right now?
In Spanish, they would say fatal. It's in a really
I got that one.
It's in a really bad place. We don't control our sources of energy. We've traded dependence on Russian gas for dependence on American gas. We hardly produce any oil, but we consume a lot. The price of all these energy sources gets set on the world market without much influence from here, and it's very, very volatile. And so the energy agenda for Europe has to be obviously one where we take control of our destiny, where we develop a lot more local European energy for Europe, which has the triple advantage of giving you the energy security. You're now in control of your sources. It also allows you to avoid all these peaks and troughs of global prices. One interesting example is Spain is a front runner in this agenda, has developed more renewables than any other country in Europe. And as a result, the power price in Spain gets set by the international gas price only 15% of the time. In Italy, it's 90% of the time. So if you develop an agenda of localizing energy production, renewable electricity, but also green hydrogen, also biofuels, you can set your own more stable price levels. And so get away from the volatility and the inflation pressure, and obviously create a European industry, a European energy production industry that we don't have today.
So if I'm hearing you right, you think the Iberian Peninsula, I mean, is well positioned to help Europe get out of this moment, or at least alleviate some of those peaks and valleys in the future.
And it's quite transformational, because Spain has always been an energy island, or Iberia has always been an energy island in Europe, disconnected from the rest of Europe, doing its own thing, importing gas from Algeria, from the rest of the world, importing oil from the rest of the world, but very little connection to the rest of Europe. And what I've said before is the future is one where Spain could be the Saudi Arabia of Europe. There's no reason why not, because it all starts with renewable electricity, for which the Iberian Peninsula has the best conditions by far in Europe, because it obviously has a lot of sun. There, we should be outside today instead of in a dark room, but it has a lot of sun.
We've got very bright lights.
It's true. It has a very good wind resource as well, but particularly it also has a lot of space where you can build large-scale renewables projects, and you can produce very competitive renewable electricity in the Iberian Peninsula that you obviously can use as electricity and electrify your system and export to Europe, but you can also turn it into very competitive green hydrogen, help make green biofuels, etc. And so in that way, Spain and Portugal have the opportunity to not just decarbonize and organize energy security for the Iberian Peninsula, but really be a very relevant producer of energy for the rest of Europe. And that would just turn history upside down, and obviously create a lot of good things for the peninsula, but also for the continent.
I think that Saudi Arabia metaphor is an apt one, because it's often sort of, I think, misunderstood that it has to be either or. I mean, it's either oil and gas or it's renewables, and you've just made the case for renewables. I mean, how do you get people to understand that, and understand that it's an and that, again, it's essential for the energy transition to happen even when there are moments like this?
I think one of the, this is obviously not a crisis anybody wants, but if you look for the bright spots in the crisis, the bright spot is that everybody now understands the issue of energy security for Europe, and that creating more energy in Europe for Europe is the only way for Europe to become strong and independent. And this agenda around renewables, renewable electricity and green molecules is not just around energy transition. It's been around energy transition for a long time and around decarbonization, but it's also very much about energy security. So I think today, if you have the conversation, everybody agrees. The issue we have is, 4 years ago, everybody also agreed. We had the Ukraine crisis, gas prices, I think, went 6 times, from 30 to 200, 7 times almost. And there was also all this urgency around, okay, now we need to solve this. Let's go build hydrogen pipelines from the south of Spain to the Ruhrgebiet and create a European system. And then when the situation normalized, that urgency went away again. And we're not yet building the pipeline. We're developing it, and Enagás is doing a fantastic job. But we're not where I thought we would have it by now. Okay. We're not even building it yet. So the thing to assure now is that this understanding doesn't peter out if and when the situation normalizes. Unfortunately, we don't think it's going to normalize very soon. And so probably that urgency will stay for a while, but we now need to turn it into irreversible progress on this agenda of European energy for Europe. And of course, Europe doesn't have fossil reserves. Yep. So European energy, by definition, not by ideology, but by definition, is renewable. And so that's what I think we now understand, but we need to maintain that level of knowledge and urgency.
Well, the Commission, took action. It announced the Industrial Accelerator Act just last month. Somehow we're in April. How does a company like Moeve react to that, and how does it help you transition or speed that transition along in its process? How does that continue the momentum?
Yeah. No, it's hugely helpful, and Europe has layered a number of important interventions on top of each other The Repower EU after Ukraine was an important intervention, then the Green Industrial Deal, now the accelerator. Europe by nature is, and many European countries by nature, has a somewhat complex and quite inclusive and involved process of developing infrastructure, energy infrastructure or pipelines or overhead lines, and this can slow things down to the point that you miss the window. And so what Europe has done is say, let's make the funds available through recovery funds and others, and we're getting some very decent subsidies to help our case, and let's create through this accelerator a more conducive regulatory environment so companies can actually get their permits faster and get into execution faster.
So you can build those things.
So we have turned that into a strategy that basically puts all the money that we have available, and we've made some more available because we've divested our oil and gas upstream assets into one of the largest biofuels projects in Europe and the second largest hydrogen project in Europe that we're building in the south of Spain in order to, before 2030, become a really, really meaningful producer of competitive green molecules for Europe. And that's just a start. You know, we want to double, triple that capacity, not just in Spain, but over time across the continent.
So I want to jump in right there because, you know, we've talked a little bit about it, but can you help the audience understand the impact that park is going to have, that the Andalusian Green Valley and potentially the partnership with Galp is going to have for both Spain and for Europe?
If you try to create a new industry, you look at Elon Musk for Tesla, or it's actually hard work. You need to get going. To create initial scale is hard work. And what the Andalusian Green Hydrogen Valley that we are leading and we've just started to build, and what the biofuels park that we're building, both in Huelva and the south of Spain, what it means is you get critical mass. You get world scale installations to get going, to really learn how to do this, and that you can then scale on. And this will be the first place in Europe, in Huelva, where it all comes together, where you have the whole ecosystem of renewable electricity and renewable molecules at world scale. And once that works, I think it will hopefully inspire others to do the same. And it will be scalable in itself. And the relevance of the Portuguese thing, of course, is as we progress our intended merger with Galp, then this becomes a really Iberian agenda. And in Portugal, there's a place called Sines, which looks a lot like Huelva, and that has the same potential. And so you're starting to build really this vision of materiality, of European impact, and I think that's so important.
So are you seeing, I mean, you guys haven't waited for this moment. You've been pushing this forward and made these announcements in the last several years. Are there any changes that you need to see or anything else you need to see coming out of the Spanish government or the European government to help accelerate that transition?
Look, indeed, we've taken the philosophy to say, you know, we'd rather be early than be late, which is a lesson we've learned from attending many cocktail parties. And so, yes, we are ahead of the curve because we believe that developing this capability and these early volumes will not only be a profitable thing, but also really a strategic advantage versus those who wake up in 2030 and they say, we want the same. Well, now you're 5 years behind. So I think there's a real competitive reason for doing it. But we also strongly, it's a big bet on, obviously, Brussels. If you think about what we need is currently what you're able to do is to build these hubs more or less in isolation. If I could ask for one thing, it's infrastructure investment. Europe needs to connect itself. From a hydrogen perspective, we need a pipeline from south of Iberia to Germany. We need power lines that connect Europe. The energy agenda for Europe is very local. And we can never get to a competitive situation in Europe if we don't create a European vision of where to produce energy, where to consume it, and how to connect it. And that's the biggest thing that we need from Brussels and from Madrid.
All right, so we are about to run out of time, but I just want to sort of pick up on that last question. I mean, we have this incredible audience here. We're Politico, we're read by policymakers. I mean, what is the one thing you need from them, and the one thing, you need this audience to take away?
I'd say
We're getting the flashing signs.
Okay, never forget the sense of urgency you feel today about creating a European energy future. Because we all feel it at the moment, everybody agrees, yeah, obviously your story is correct. But my worry is in 18 months, when things have died down, we'll be back to a very incremental, slow process. And that's not what we need. So never forget today would be my request.
Okay. Well, that wraps us up. We're going to hand it back over to Kate Day, but I just want to thank you again for your partnership and for the thoughts you've shared today. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Spain.
Thank
Politico.
you. I appreciate it. Thank you.